whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Ho, ho, ho. This is your legal Santa, Gavin Richard, wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. The law offices of Gavin M. Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served. Hi, I'm attorney Gavin M. Richard. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jell-O, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn the attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format.
The place to be is right here with me on Thursday nights. It is Random Topic Thursdays here on GBoot2786. Twas the night before Christmas, And on the Random Topic Thursdays live stream, author Shawn James stopped by to let off some steam. We discussed the following topics made right for your viewing. Just take a gander. Just take. All right, okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Vice President Harris chastises Charlemagne the God for asking who is the president. I wanted to get Sean's thoughts on this. Megan Good's husband calling it quits after 9 years. Kim Potter found guilty on 2 counts of manslaughter against Dante Wright. Biden announces no plans to relieve student loan debt. Kamau Bell has a hit piece on Bill Cosby coming soon to Showtime. All this and more with our brother Shawn James. Shawn, of course, is the author of The Man Crisis. Shawn, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're going to get this Christmas party started, ladies and gentlemen. But first, and this is another topic we have, Kyle Rittenhouse celebrated, Chris Hayes goes off, and Tomi Loren doesn't even like it. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know how to get your Creole seasoning blend, of course. NornisCreoleBlends.com. I'm sure we've sent some orders out already. So I'm sure we'll all see something about that a little bit later on. Danielle, what is this about an announcement in Chicago by the mayor? I don't know what you mean by that. Okay. Well, anyway. I'm sorry. So, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, salute to all the chat. Darius from Atlanta, Steve, Mac. Shout out to you, brother, as well. I saw your Facebook post recently about the untimely passing that you're dealing with. Your Uncle Frank, brother, may he rest in power, rest in peace. So prayers to you and your family, brother Steve. Also, thank you, Darius. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Also, where am I? So, guys, you go to the Facebook page, subscribe to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. That is our book. We will have an Instagram page coming soon by sometime early next week. I'll have an Instagram set up so everybody can go there who is not on Facebook. We can connect. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we will have updates as well. That's the only place to get updates as to when the book will be released. It is coming soon, I can assure you. I'm pushing for, I know we've kept saying the fall, and that was what we were going to do, but we've been hitting snag with our legal department, but not a snag, but just waiting on them. But I have plans to release it sometime very, very soon, and perhaps in the next month. So just be on the lookout for it. That's why you got to go to the Facebook page to get updates for anything. So just look to that page. We'll have updates on it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's at Commonwealth Cos. Also, check out Video Soul. That is where we do our music. You can look and reach me on Spotify.com for Video Soul. That is the jam. And of course, we have our opening. We open and close. Got to get on up. So as we are about to rather get on down, let us now get on up, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back right after this. You do the stocking while I'll do the rocking.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. We're in the real hold of you. There's only one thing left to do, cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body, cause when the beat is really grooving, start. Tell the DJ play the whispers, rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners, electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do, cause the beat is really grooving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body, cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body, cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Baby, yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Got to get on up, ladies and gentlemen. I hate when I do that when I'm talking and I'm muted because people hear echoes and so forth. All right. Of course, that's another copyright strike for me for playing my own song, Shawn. That's fun. I'll get that notification in the email. It happens all the time. I don't know how to deal with it, but it is what it is. As long as I just get the strike and just explain, hey, I am the co-writer of this. I am the publisher of this. So they'll say, okay, we understand. At any rate, Shawn, welcome again, brother, welcome back to our show. And everybody, welcome on Random Topic Thursdays, the night before Christmas. So I hope everyone is doing safe and blessed right now. Shawn, how are you?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you?
Let's get you some some last minute book sales for Christmas, Shawn. So,
Yeah, it's been really slow, so I really need some book sales. I'm asking everybody to pick up some books on Amazon in paperback and Kindle format.
right. And you all can go there on Amazon. Let's take a look at some books that Shawn has. Why don't you show some of the latest like we always do, Shawn?
All right, I think I have some in front of me. 1 second. Okay. Well, I have the books with the 2021 catalog in front of me, and those include East Team Cancel Vacation, ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, Shawn James Taking Care of Business, and Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And these 4 books are part of the SJS Direct 2021 catalog. And you can find all these books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all right. I just had a little gas.
All right. So I'm seeing someone said we lost David Carroll.
Yes, he did pass away, I think around the 14th or the 15th. And
Who is David Carroll?
David Carroll was a prominent YouTuber. He was somebody I knew. We follow each other on Twitter. He's a brilliant man, and he really got the YouTube space to really start critically thinking. Really got a YouTube space to really start thinking about how what we were doing as a direction as a race, and he really presented some very strong arguments as related to a lot of the dysfunction going on in the Black community. David Carroll was he was what he called himself, the intellectual juggernaut, but I would call him an extremely brilliant man. I mean, I got a lot of I got inspired by him to write several books like Legendary Mad Matilda, ISIS Imitation of Life. The Man Crisis was due to a lot of his teachings. A lot of those books, he had a major influence on me as a person, and he was a truly great man. I mean, he will definitely be missed because he brought intelligence to this YouTube space, and he set some order for this YouTube space because there was a lot of chaos going on before David Carroll came here to start talking about the Black dysfunction, and he brought some order and structure to this place as related to the way a lot of Black men and women carried and conducted themselves. And we started to see Black men and women starting to become more civil because he pointed out a lot of dysfunction going on. And because he pointed it out in his own unique way, a lot of people started taking a look at themselves and realizing that they could do better. And I saw the impact of David Carroll on this space, and he definitely will be missed.
Yeah. I honestly will. I rest in peace to the brother. I don't know him personally. I never seen some of his videos. He does look familiar, so maybe I saw something in passing, but I wasn't quite familiar with him. But nevertheless,
I will
rest
send you a link to a couple of his videos and his channel after the show ends. He made videos that were classic masterpieces, and they will make you think. I mean, David Carroll, when you watch a David Carroll video, you're going to come out of it learning something. I mean, he comes at the Black community. It seems like in some ways it's hard, but it's something that people need to hear, and it's a truth that they need to hear. And a lot of people, again, they woke up when they heard his stuff. I mean, he's the main reason why so many Black people are no longer voting Democrat, I believe, in this country. I mean, his videos like No Hope, No Change for the Negro, that video made a lot of Black people start really thinking about how they were voting. And that's why we saw your Terry McAuliffe lose the election. I believe it was a long-term thing because that video was 9 years ago. But because of him talking about it, it just made a lot of people really think about how they were voting and what they were doing and how they were working against themselves.
yeah. What do you yeah, so it's yeah, well again, you can send me a link to it. Again, I feel sorry for him and his family about his passing, his untimely passing, and I would say may he rest in power, and rest in peace, certainly. Uh, with that being said, but Shawn, again, why don't we go ahead and get into it and shout out to everyone in the chat because Gordon Freeman says his message lives on.
Yes, definitely does.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm sure he's going to be well missed, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, this was the breaking news earlier today. Kim Potter, the former Brooklyn City police officer who shot Dante Wright, was found guilty on 2 counts of manslaughter. The verdict was read today after the jury had deliberated for over 27 hours, starting on Monday when closing arguments had ended. We'll go ahead right now. I'm trying to see if I can play a video of Kim Potter's the verdict that was read. I'm trying to find it right now. I had it up earlier, ladies and gentlemen, but this was not a shock. I was not shocked so much that they rendered a verdict at this moment because of the fact that uh, it was this is Christmas week, so there was no way that this jury would want to deliberate after the Christmas holiday. You know, after the Christmas holiday, people are tired. They don't want to go anywhere. They're starting to slowly go back to work. And the verdict was read. And what was interesting, Shawn, when you listened to the verdict after the decision was made, they actually had the nerve, the defense attorney. No, I shouldn't say the nerve because I'm a defense attorney and I've done this. So it's expected. But what irked me, I should say, is that when the verdict was being read, after the verdict was read, the court was discussing whether or not bail should be granted uh, after this verdict so that Potter could go home.
You're
for
looking live
Christmas
inside.
vacation. And what happened is that during the motions, the defense attorney actually said she would like to get home for the Christmas holiday because she is a practicing Catholic. Now, I'm gonna say this: if that is the case, then every practicing Catholic, every practicing Buddhist, every practicing Jew that is in jail should be able to come home for the holiday at least once, if that's what the way they feel. So she was found guilty of first degree and second degree manslaughter, which means she faces a possibility of 70 years in prison. I'll go ahead and read the verdict right now.
The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge, and the verdict was agreed to at the hour of 11:48 on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And the verdict was agreed to at the hour of 11:40 a.m. and signed by the jury person on 12/23/21. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And that verdict was agreed to at 10:30 a.m. on 12/21/21.
Now, that's what the verdict was read, but here is the motions hearing that defense attorney made to Kim Potter in order to be released on bail.
Sentencing?
For sentencing.
Your Honor, pre-sentence report?
Yes, I'm having a PSI report done.
We are not available on the 13th. I believe we could do the 14th.
I'm in trial a week after that, and it does seem to be a little accelerated given the seriousness of the decisions you're about to make. So later in January would be our preference. We also would like to talk about the bail issue with you before you decide it, before you make a decision to take her in.
All right, I'll hear you out.
Go ahead, Mel. Well,
You know, I think it'd be easier for the court reporter if you went to the podium.
we both say a little bit, Judge.
Yes.
Well, there hasn't been a motion. I anticipate they would file a motion, but this arguendo, they're going to file a motion to revoke her bail. We will be filing a motion for dispositional departure on the case. She is amenable to probation. Her remorse and regret for the incident is overwhelming. She's not a danger to the public whatsoever. She's made all her court appearances, including all appearances in the court. It is the Christmas holiday season. She's a devoted Catholic, no less. And there is no point to incarcerate her at this point in time because A, you haven't decided what the sentence is going to be. B, the dispositional departure arguments are quite strong on this case. And C, it's not necessary for the preservation of public safety. So for those reasons, she need not be incarcerated whatsoever pending sentencing. You certainly can do it after sentencing, but this is a rather unique case of someone who has law enforcement experience and was never in trouble all her life and is 49, which is beyond the age of most defendants that you see. Plus, she has deep roots in the community and her family's here, and there's no evidence that she would flee. So we respectfully ask you to change your mind as to whether she needs to be incarcerated right now. I know Mr. Gray has a couple comments too.
Your Honor, her bail right now is $100,000. She's got that posted. She's not going to run. She obviously is not going to commit any more crimes. She's been convicted of an accident. She's been convicted of being reckless. I just would like to be able to, with Paul, file a motion for dispositional departure in this case. I think there's other facts that didn't come to light during the trial that are important also about Kim Potter and about this case. So I respectfully request that you release her on her $100,000 bail, and that'll make it easier to do the pre-sentence report. We'll get people sending letters on her behalf. And I would ask for her sentencing sometime after, if you release her, sometime. I start a trial January 20th. It should be over by February 20th, I hope, sometime in late February. And ask that my gosh, she's got $100,000 bail out, Judge. But, you know, she's not going to commit another crime. She's not going anywhere. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Frank.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do request that the defendant be taken into custody. The convictions here are for manslaughter in the first degree, manslaughter in the second degree, based on the death of Dante Wright, a young man. In other words, it's a case that involves a death. They are very serious charges. It is customary for defendants to be taken into custody upon a guilty verdicts for those level of crimes. And we don't think this case should be any differently. Your Honor, we also have learned that the defendant is not living in the state. I don't know if that was known and provided for in the original conditions of release, but it presents obviously an aggravating factor for allowing her to remain out of custody. So we are requesting that the state remand her into custody and withdraw any bail or conditions of release. Your Honor, we do have the Blakely issue to resolve, and we would be asking some direction from the court on whether we should submit written arguments or proposed findings, or how the court exactly wants to address that. We could have those findings, of course, for the actual sentencing hearing, and we would request a PSI as well.
Yes.
Serious crime, I understand that, but both of those crimes, there's no intent, no criminal intent. It's reckless and culpable negligence. Many times in my career, I've had defendants convicted of culpable negligence. I don't think I've ever had a reckless one, but it's an unintentional crime by somebody with a clear record. And we have a strong reason for dispositional departure. I'd ask the court to release her on bail. Surely will reappear.
Okay. The presumptive sentences in this case are commits. And I am going to require that she be taken into custody and held without bail. And I recognize your arguments, Mr. Ng and Mr. Gray, but I cannot treat this case any differently than any other case. So I think we should probably set briefing deadlines. I know that the defense would like to make a written motion for dispositional departure.
All right. Okay, so she was taken in after that. Shawn, what did you think of the conviction and what happened afterwards?
I think the conviction was the right conviction based on the video and the evidence presented, because a seasoned officer should know the difference between a taser and a service weapon. And it's clear to me from the video that this woman clearly had some malice as related to your Dante Wright defying her authority. And that's what she was angry about. And because she was angry about him defying her, that's why I believe she took out her service weapon. And then she tried to make the excuse saying that, oh, I didn't mean to do it. But she did, I believe, mean to do it. And that's why we got the conviction for manslaughter. I believe it should have been murder, but it was manslaughter. And I'm glad that we did get some justice as related to this case. Now I see these white supremacists in the court system trying to give this woman a pass, but there should be no pass. I mean, if she can get a pass to go to church, every other killer and every other person should get that type of pass. But she needs to be held accountable and held to the same standard of law as every other defendant who has been convicted. It's like they keep trying to give her a pass for her wrongdoing, but this is what is part of our gynocentric system. Whenever a white female commits a crime, there's always a whole group of people looking to give her a pass, and we can't give her a pass because what she did was, one, racially profile Dante Wright, and then two, she went out here and clearly intentionally took out a weapon to take his life.
Yeah. This I definitely thought that it was gonna be man. I knew for a fact. Well, let me rewind it. I thought, based off the fact that the jury kept coming back and asking questions, like on Tuesday, I believe they had questions about what if we couldn't reach a consensus. I thought for sure they likely would have acquitted her. I certainly thought a decision was going to be made before Christmas Eve. Uh, that was my thinking. Because remember what happened uh, with the William Roddy Bryan and the McMichael's trial that took place. That was the week of Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So the verdict was read on Thanksgiving Eve. So I find those both interesting. But she's facing 70 years in prison. Do I think she'll likely get 70 years? Probably not, based off the mitigating factors that were there. And just knowing as a lawyer, of course, not everything is what it is, but I certainly thought what she did was, to that statute, manslaughter. The issue with the murder aspect, as you know, Sean, is that you would have to prove intent. In order to find someone committed murder, whether they planned it, whether they had specific intent to kill, knowing the actions from their consequences, that's the issue. But there's no way a seasoned officer should have known better when operating a firearm. And if you do not know the difference between a firearm and a taser, then you certainly don't need to be a police officer. People have told me this is not the first black man she shot. It's not. Apparently, she's done it before. But the bottom line is, this was a Karen with a pistol. And you saw how after she broke down and cried when she shot Dante Wright, she didn't say she was sorry and wondering whether he was okay, going to render aid or anything like that. She was upset because she knew she was going to go to jail. And she said that out of her own mouth.
It's your classic white female. They play these
Karen with a gun.
They put the salt, they do the dirt, and then they do the salty tears, and then they do the salty tears in the hopes of getting you to get emotional. So
right.
There's a method to their madness, and you have to learn the method to their madness to be able to figure it out. She saw Kyle Rittenhouse try to play that game, and he got away with it, and she thought she was going to get away with it, but she didn't get away with it because a seasoned officer, again, if you cannot disseminate the difference between a taser and a service weapon, you don't even get to get out of the academy.
No, that's like someone studying to be a doctor and you don't know the difference between a scalpel or a saw blade. That's like you're a surgeon. That's like wanting to be a surgeon. Like if you're scared to be a police officer because you think you're going to face danger, and it's not the actual most dangerous job in the world. Coal miners actually have a more dangerous job than police officers by statistics. Not saying that police work isn't dangerous, because it can be. But when they always make that excuse, well, it's scary, well, fuck, you don't need to be a cop then. That's like being a doctor. You're a surgeon. You want to be a heart surgeon, but you're scared of blood. What sense does that make? Not a damn thing. It doesn't make any damn sense. But do you think this? Well, let me ask you this, Shawn. Do you think the tide is turning? No, in this country with police officers getting convictions, do you think messages are
I think we're in the middle of a start of, but we need to build more momentum because we need to set a standard for punishing these rogue police officers, these race soldiers, these suburban commandos. We have to set a standard, and I think we're starting to set that standard, and we have to keep the pressure on to hold these kinds of people accountable because with white supremacy, they like to give us a sacrificial lamb here and a sacrificial lamb there. And then they know that a lot of people, once they get these sacrificial lambs, what they do is they take their foot off the pedal and they don't keep accelerating the momentum to keep the pressure on. So what the white supremacist wants to do is they'll sacrifice an Amber Geiger, they'll sacrifice this woman, they'll sacrifice a Derek Chauvin, and they'll do this so they can continue going on with their processes and their whole methodology. But we have to play the long game because with white supremacy, they know that if you give you one of these guys, it'll make you feel good for a minute, and then you stop focusing on continuing to maintain a standard for everything. And we have to have a standard that these rogue police officers, these race soldiers, these suburban commandos are held accountable, and that this is the standard as rule of law in this country.
Yeah, I certainly think a message is being sent with it, and as it should. But we got to remember though too, had there not been a body camera footage or that showed that, who knows how this would have turned out? Because she was responding any way that they could, and likely she wouldn't have been in prison. Just like they tried to protect those 3 fucking rednecks in Georgia, even cops. But yeah, we're gonna move on, Shawn. And I'm glad I see Brother Darian saying, "Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse." Let's talk about that right now. Now, this came out about Kyle Rittenhouse being celebrated. So what happened, ladies and gentlemen? You see this article on Yahoo News. There was something called the AmFest in Phoenix, and I guess this is this American Fest. It's where all of these conservatives either speak or talk. And Kyle Rittenhouse was invited to speak to the audience. He was celebrated. Now, I'm going to play I guess this is the Twitter video. And they get mad about OJ. Now, he was acquitted, and I understand the rule of law, it is what it is. But I don't see why, let's be real, why he celebrated. If Kyle Rittenhouse was never on trial, if he was never on trial, if he never killed anybody, would he be invited to events like this, ladies and gentlemen? Do you honestly? And I think we could say with the resounding yes or no. I know it's a stupid question, but yeah, they acted like the Jonas Brothers came out there. But nobody would have heard of Kyle Rittenhouse. And so you're Chris Hayes and on MSNBC, and I'm not a fan of MSNBC. It's a shit show, just like Fox News. But I agree with Chris Hayes with this because he actually called out this festival. He called it a festival of violence. And listen to what he had to say.
Put the politics aside for a second. Like, this is a sick spectacle. This is a very sick spectacle.
On Tuesday, All In with Chris Hayes condemned the celebrity status Kyle Rittenhouse has achieved, particularly at a recent conservative rally in Arizona, where they welcomed him to the stage with pyrotechnics.
Kyle Rittenhouse is known for one thing. They are literally celebrating killing people.
In November, Rittenhouse was acquitted of all charges in the 2020 fatal shooting of 2 protesters and the injuring of another in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
I have to say, watching that tape of him walking out and the big cheering. It is one of the most ominous, despicable developments in our politics in recent memory, which is really saying something because, boy, we have been full of them.
And while Hayes called out the right wing as a whole, he had some particularly harsh words for Tucker Carlson, who exalted Rittenhouse as an American hero and featured him on his show.
I mean, watching Tucker Carlson when the Chavez, like, quiver and squeal in delight, you're a grown-ass man. Like, grow up. Right. You're a man, and you're groveling at the foot of this kid because of the people he killed.
I didn't see that video with Tucker Carlson. I'm not really interested. I'm sure he's a piece of shit too. I mean, and like Knight Rider says, the left and the right wing are evil. They are. Nothing. I'm sorry, that was Gordon. I remember when Tucker Carlson, he had a show on CNN, interestingly enough, and Shawn, you probably remember it, called Crossfire. And he got called a dick on live television by none other than Jon Stewart. You remember that?
Yeah.
Right. And that's how he got kicked off CNN back in 2004, 2005. And then he went to Fox News because they were going to take him because they knew he nothing but a little racist little bitch. And I've never forgotten when Tucker Carlson actually talked about Michael Vick deserving the death penalty. Now, did y'all know that they actually have, this was over the dog fighting thing. By the way, Shawn, did you know that People magazine actually put this crap out about the last bulldog?
Last bulldog?
The last bulldog of Michael Vick that died. The last dog.
Yeah, I know. They're trying to make him look like a black brute.
This was what People magazine put this out there. People magazine and a few others, even the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, had this on their front. Okay, so they put I hate when the ad blocker is up and they put these little notifications. Would you want to buy for 99 cents? Fuck no. The news is free, should be. But look, yeah, this little thing, this is what they put up here. Hold on. The last surviving dog from Michael Vick's dog fighting ring has died. And it wasn't even Michael Vick that did the dog fighting. It was actually his cousins and his relatives who were staying there, but they needed a face for this. And they have never forgiven Michael Vick over this. But they can praise Kyle Rittenhouse, who killed several people, 2 people. Now, even if it's in self-defense, and yes, he was acquitted, why is this to be celebrated? Why is he being invited? It's just like with George Zimmerman. He goes to these conventions, he goes to these events. People are taking pictures with him, shaking his hand. He puts his gun up for auction. Somebody wants to buy it. These rednecks are not playing. And let me say this, we better not be playing either. But it's outright sickening. And Tomi Lahren, who was defensive of Rittenhouse, she even said it is not a good look to celebrate Rittenhouse. She says here, I think we should take a step back and maybe not make the man Bon Jovi. She said this on Outnumbered on a Fox News segment on Tuesday, where she pumped the brakes on conservatives treating Kyle Rittenhouse as a rock star or a celebrity. I'm going to play that clip.
All right, coming up, Kyle Rittenhouse, treated like a rock star here at Turning Point USA, America Fest. Trust me, I'm hearing it left and right here in the hallway. Why the young man is saying the media is still getting the facts of his case wrong as he hints at legal action. Tommy, coming to you on that point, it really, I think conservatives resonate with that.
I think they do. And first, I want to say I agree with the verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I believe that he was innocent. I believe that he should go after the media for how they have slandered him and mischaracterized him. I believe that wholeheartedly, and he should set an example and be that example. However, I do think that as conservatives, we need to be a little careful when it comes to this. I believe we can put up Kyle Rittenhouse as someone who is innocent, who is bullied and mistreated by the media. But I think we should step back a little bit and maybe not treat him like he's a rock star or a celebrity. I don't think that's necessarily a good look for the conservative movement. He did what he had to do. He was defending himself. Let's talk about self-defense. Let's talk about the riots. Let's talk about how everything went horribly, horribly wrong that day. But I think we should take a step back and maybe not make the man Bon Jovi. But that's just my take.
It was an awful situation. There's no doubt about it. Kennedy, I do think, however, he has a lawsuit on his hands, much like Nicholas Sandman. You know, he settled with NBC.
All right. And I want to show everybody this too. Now, have y'all seen this Negro before? This Brandon Tatum guy, you've heard of him, Shawn?
Heard of him.
He's a conservative. So
he's but a biscuit bootlick.
Yeah, he does these videos basically saying, like, he even did a video why Kim Potter would be found not guilty. I guess he's got to eat his words on that. He's done several conservative videos. He's done movies he hangs out with Candace Owens, and whenever you hang out with Candace Owens, that says enough. That's enough for me. But he says here, met a real hero today. Not many people can compel me to want a picture with them. Kyle is that dude, though. Okay. Go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah, this is white supremacy trying to change the narrative on a murderer because they love murderers and they love violence. And what they want to do is try to make this rock star out of this beta male chump, Kyle Rittenhouse, because they're trying to change the narrative on this guy because he really is somebody that they know is running out of time as related to his 15 minutes of fame. So what they're trying to do is romanticize the idea that he's some sort of hero and some sort of rock star, but we really know that he's nothing more than a coward and a wimp overall, because without his 9mm or his AR-15 of courage, he's just another beta chump who would probably get beat up by the smallest and wimpiest of kids. So they're trying to make him out to be a star, but he's not any sort of star. He's basically a clown because white supremacy needs a win after taking so many losses with guys like Derek Chauvin and many others. So now they're trying to make this guy into a superstar like they did with George Zimmerman, and they're trying to romanticize the idea that he's a hero. And this is a bad example because this is doing is emboldening and encouraging more mass shooters out here to believe that this type of behavior is acceptable. So the white supremacists who are out here promoting this think that they're doing something good because they're desperate to salvage their image. But long term, it's damaging the image of most of these guys because we see them for the racists they are. We see them for the cowards they are, because Kyle Rittenhouse's only motivation to go out there was to go out here and murder black people. He was, as I believe, possibly planning a mass shooting of blacks. And the only thing that got in his way were those white leftists who found him and confronted him. So when I look at this whole attempt to try to romanticize this guy and make him into a hero, it really shows how those who are behind him are worse than he is, because like George Zimmerman, they got behind him, and had they just left him alone, things would be better. But the whole thing is they want to make a star out of this guy because they want to feel justified in participating in the behaviors that he participates in.
Yeah. Gordon asks, any assault rifle makes any beta male a rock star. I'm gonna take this because I have and we use these terms. We got to be careful too, because a Second Amendment applies to us as well. An assault rifle is something that the media use, and it's a misnomer. What people call an assault weapon, some people think it's an automatic rifle, and that's not the case. That is an automatic rifle. AR-15. What that means and stands for is Armor Light. That was the company that designed the gun. So that's where that's what AR stands for, but people use it as abbreviated for assault rifle. It's not. I own an AR-15 myself. I'm not a beta male. I don't think. Of course, I'm black as well. So if I used it, it would mean I'm a criminal of some sort. If that situation had happened with me, but I think to what Shawn is saying is that conservatives who like their guns, and basically that's a front. I think for some of them, not all, but that is a front for really white supremacists, people who, and also for that come up short on their endowment, if you know what I mean, and who basically they use this as a way to excuse themselves and as a way, I guess, to promote an agenda. And that's what that thing was about. He's celebrated as a hero. And it is very dangerous when we can celebrate people who kill people essentially, even though they are legally found not guilty. And I understand better than anybody what that presumption means. Don't get me wrong. But is this something that has to be celebrated? No, I don't believe it should. But this is what they do. But they get mad at O.J. Simpson celebrating that verdict. They don't get upset about the fact that this woman who helped kill Emmett Till or set him up, is walking scot free today. And apparently, no charges will ever be brought against her. But Shawn, you go ahead if you want to answer Gordon's question.
Well, when it comes down to it, the beta male is a guy who he has low self-esteem, he has low self-worth, and to overcompensate for his low self-esteem and low self-worth by his masculinity, he hides behind attachments like weapons. So when I say he's a beta male, he comes out here, he needs the gun in order to feel like a man because he doesn't have confidence in himself. So he needs that weapon to have the courage to go out here and do things. And your Kyle Rittenhouse, he was one of these guys. He didn't have any courage without his weapon. I mean, he didn't want to go. The only reason why he wanted to go down there was to go out here and do harm to black people. And the only way he could do harm to black people was if he had his weapon. I mean, this was a guy. He always looked for people who were smaller and weaker, like the women he was fighting in a previous video, to fight. And he didn't have the courage to go out here. And a lot of these beta males, they need their weapon to feel like a man, and they need to come with a weapon because they feel like it gives them an upper hand or an advantage in a situation. They cannot go face to face or hand to hand, so they need their weapon. And again, their weapon is their courage because these men have no character at all.
Yeah, no character at all. So, and let me just say, Fox News isn't shit, but neither is MSNBC. I don't get caught up in Chris Hayes and Fox News, because basically left wing, right wing, it's the same bird.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they're both poisonous. You just get to pick which what flavor you like. Do you like arsenic or do you like cyanide? This is new black media. That's why we try to do something different. This is the media you need to be supporting. Mainstream media, I mean, there are some, honestly, I can't say this with certainty. I think that the conservative media, I have found they've been more professional in some instances than your liberal media. I think that they certainly, I get more annoyed. Well, maybe I shouldn't say professional. Let's put it this way. I get more annoyed by the liberals than the conservatives. I think the liberals are more annoying with stuff. You find, Shawn?
Yeah. Well, the liberals, I see, they tend to lie a lot. I mean, the conservatives, they're honest racists.
Yeah.
They're honest racists, so you can respect them because at least they're honest about their racism. But the liberal, what he does is he puts on a face like he's tolerant and accepting passively, but aggressively he undermines any sort of black empowerment or any efforts for black people to move forward.
Yeah. And that's what you saw with that cop, and cop official Brandon, or whatever, Officer Brandon, whatever the fuck his name is. I've seen a couple of his videos and stuff. So I'm really not interested in. But if you're hanging out with Candace Owens, I don't believe he's married to a black woman. Not that I hold that against him, but that says a lot to me, especially if all you do is talk down on your people. You're hanging out with Candace, and Candace Owens is the worst. So Is Kim Fox in trouble in Chicago? So a new report was released after Musty Justice trial about how the district attorney, I believe she is the district attorney out in Cook County, Kim Fox handled this situation. And I just actually saw this, Shawn, and I wanted to talk about it briefly if we got time. And I think we do. Just with this confidential report that was released. Now, I have not seen this, but let's go ahead and look at it.
Made public blasting Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox for her handling of the Jussie Smollett case. This less than 2 weeks after the actor was found guilty of staging a hate crime and then lying to police.
The special prosecutor who took over this case and who interviewed 43 people for this report says their decision was a substantial abuse of discretion. Casey Cronin reports.
In a 60-page report, Special Prosecutor Dan Webb says Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox misled the public, violated legal ethics, and failed to be honest in handling the Jussie Smollett case. Revealing new details, including after Fox learned that Smollett was being investigated by police, she continued to have contact with Smollett's sister, Journey, for several days.
And once she learned that, she should have stopped all contact with family members. And I think that's the most surprising aspect of this report that had not come out previously.
Former Judge Sheila O'Brien, whose petition led to Webb's appointment, is now calling for Fox's resignation, saying in part, this report shows she is a liar, that her administration is in chaos, and that she's blaming everyone else. Taxpayers deserve better. In response to the report, Fox's office said in part, we respectfully disagree. A prosecutor's discretion is as broad as any in the law, and differences of opinion as to how a case was handled do not signify an abuse of discretion. While the report does not find evidence to support criminal charges against Fox, legal analyst Larry Yellen says it could still be damaging.
If there is an investigation by the Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission, the ARDC, which licenses lawyers in Illinois, that could lead to a possible suspension of her law license, and she would have to step down while her license was suspended. And that could be very damaging for her attempts at a re-election.
Casey Cronin, Fox 32, Chicago.
And our legal expert adds that commission keeps their investigations confidential. So if they do take a look into Fox's conduct, we may not find out the results until that review is over.
Okay, Shawn. Just briefly, if you want to talk about that, man, that is damning if it's true that she did that. And remember, she did go out of her way. I remember specifically holding a press conference where they announced that they were not going to be pressing charges against Jussie, but what they acknowledged was that he'll just forfeit his bond, and that would be the end of it. And they would dismiss the charges. Like it would be, he would not be prosecuted. It's what we call no pros, which I found interesting. And you have been, and I have been critical of obviously what happened to Jussie Smollett. But what do you think of these findings from
Well,
Webb? Yeah.
I think it's karma coming back to Kim Fox, and basically she's reaping what she sowed. She tried to cover up for Juicy Jussie, and she thought she had the backing of white supremacy. And now that the case is over, what's happening here is something Professor Black Truth always says: white supremacy always breaks its toys. And now that they have seen that Kim Fox has outlived her usefulness, this is their way of letting her know that now we're going to show you the door, because she thought she could go out here and do stuff to get a pass for a Juicy Jussie and still remain in power. But your white supremacists, they're letting her know that you have outlived your usefulness. We no longer need you to do our dirty work. And now that you're trying to help guys like Juicy Jussie and trying to do things for other black people, we can't have you in a position of power. So basically, these are your white supremacists giving Kim Fox her walking papers. And I guarantee you that she probably won't make it to the next election. Her and Lori Lightfoot, they're both possibly on their way out.
Yeah, I've heard that. And there was an announcement earlier. Shout out to I believe it was Danielle, she stated that the mayor announced that starting in January, anyone that had to enter, I think, into a building had to show proof uh, of you know what starting January 3rd.
They're all about to wind up ending because it's like they're digging their own grave. I mean, this narrative is crumbling before us on that subject, but a lot of these politicians like Kim Fox and Lori Lightfoot, they're on their way out. They don't really see it. I mean, anybody who knows the chess game, we can see the end coming for a lot of these people, and this is their way of saying to Kim Fox, "You've outlived your usefulness to white supremacy, and now we're about to give you your walking papers. You can either resign or we're going to prosecute you and we're going to have you end in the most ignominious way."
Right. And we have too many. Look, let me say this, especially you all know about how we've talked, and better than me, you all know because I've explained it what prosecutors are supposed to do. Talking about that subject, which I'm going to discuss later. By the way, again, go to the We Believe to the Bill Cosby page for our book, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. on Facebook as @Commonwealth Cos. But everybody knows prosecutors do have broad discretion to bring charges. However, in professional responsibility and our code of ethics that we have as lawyers, and I believe it's the same. I'm not familiar with Illinois' professional rules of conduct, but I'm pretty sure it's similar to ones that we have seen before. For instance, I've gone over when I was talking about Kevin Steele being the DA out in Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. Prosecutors can only bring charges if they have probable cause a crime had taken place. So I'm gonna bet the farm Illinois' professional rules of conduct, and I'm just going off of what I know just in general, that a prosecutor in Illinois has the same obligations. They have to, if they know a crime has taken place, they are required, obviously, when you're elected as the people, as the DA, you are the criminal lawyer for that county. So she should have, if there was evidence that he committed a crime, and I believe it was overwhelming that there was, just like many people, because even the juror said what Jussie Smollett didn't make any, or said as to what happened, it didn't make any sense. So did she do what she was supposed to do? Likely not. A lot of these people, a lot of these liberals, especially you notice, Shawn, it's not a coincidence that it's all in these far left towns, these big Democratic cities that you're seeing, whether it's Chicago, whether it's New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, somebody is running amok.
Yep.
It's getting out of hand.
Because that's the way leftists are. I mean, I saw this in the 80s. I mean, whenever leftists get control of everything, it just turns to crap because these people, they strain at a gnat and they swallow a camel, and they're the biggest hypocrites on the planet.
All right, you guys see this here. They say it is now or never for Kim Fox to explain herself. Now, this is the rules of professional conduct I found on the Illinois website, the Illinois state website on the special responsibilities of a prosecutor. This is coming from the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, of Illinois. I'm sorry, I'm getting that mixed up. But you guys see this here. It says the duty of a public prosecutor is to seek justice, not merely to convict. The prosecutor in a criminal case shall refrain from prosecuting a charge that the prosecutor knows is not supported by probable cause. Make reasonable efforts to assure that the accused has been advised of the right to and the procedure for obtaining counsel and has been given responsible opportunity to obtain counsel, not to seek to obtain from an unrepresented accused a waiver of important pretrial rights such as the right to a preliminary hearing. Make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate the guilt of the accused or mitigates the offense, and in connection with sentencing, disclose the defense in the tribunal all unprivileged mitigating information known to the prosecutor, except when the prosecutor is relieved of that responsibility by a protective order of the tribunal. I'm not going to go and read all of it, like not subpoena a lawyer in a grand jury or criminal proceeding and stuff like that. But these are the responsibilities that prosecutors are supposed to have. And clearly, if she were communicating about this to if she was communicating this to, I don't know what you mean by that, Knight Rider. If she's communicating this to Juicy Smollett's family, she was communicating with them after the information came to her knowledge, that's a problem. And yes, I know that, yes, they are, white folks get away with it. They do it all the time and so forth. People, especially we're shrugging our shoulders with Juicy, well, I don't want to see him go to jail and all of this stuff. But like I said, I don't think he's going to do serious jail time, like 3 years in prison. But obviously, when you, like I said before, when you get attention drawn to yourself like he did, lie like he did, and you finally get caught doing it, you can't complain about what other people have done because you knew you shouldn't have been doing it. You opened yourself up. But I mean, yeah, it's like chickens coming home to roost. And maybe this is karma too for Kim Fox with the R. Kelly thing. Because she botched that. When that documentary was made. Okay, thank you, Knight Rider. You said that was in response to Kim Fox, brother Gavin. Okay. Remember when she made that announcement, anybody that got molested by R. Kelly come forward? That was, that could be problematic because anybody could just come out and say something, if you don't have evidence. But that's neither here nor there, Shawn.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just seeing, again, the end of Kim Fox. And again, white supremacy is getting ready to break another toy. And that's what we're seeing right now. And if your Kim Fox was a smart woman, she would just put in her resignation and move on. But I don't think she's going to be smart, and she's going to go out in a most ignominious fashion.
Shawn, I wanted to get into the next topic. We're at the halfway point. Brother, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Also, get some last-minute Christmas sales if you're interested. We're pushing Brother Shawn's books to get some last-minute sales. Buy Stop Simping in Cyberspace on Amazon by Shawn James. You can get that in Kindle and paperback format. Get it for the holidays, ladies and gentlemen. Support our brother. Santa Claus is coming to town. All right. So put something in your stocking. Buy Shawn James Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Shawn, I wanted to talk about this, brother, because I wanted to hear your thoughts, even though I talked about this the other day. Megan Good's husband, Devon Franklin, who is a pastor, is calling it quits from his wife of 9 years. He filed for divorce back in this past week at the Stanley Moss Courthouse in Los Angeles. They have no children together, and the couple was married back in 2012. Good is 40 and Franklin is 43. He released a statement saying, after much prayer and consideration, we've decided to go into our future separately but forever connected. We celebrate almost a decade of marriage together and a love that is eternal. There's no one at fault. We believe this is the next best chapter in the evolution of our love. Now, your Megan Good is an actress who, of course, we know her from movies like Friday, Waist Deep, and a few others. But Megan, she's also in Deliverance from Evil. She's an actress on the show Harlem. And Shawn, you did a whole video on Harlem. Now, about a month ago, O'Shea Duke Jackson even said that your Megan Good was not even was, I guess, kicked to the curb by her husband then, because at the premiere of Harlem, I believe he was not even present. But what we know, and I showed this last time I was here, that scene, that infamous scene that was floating around where Megan Good, uh, let's just say, was propositioned by a young man to eat his ass. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it, huh?
No other way to put it. I mean, the official term is rim job for that sodomy. But
Salad. Yeah. Rim job. Yeah, I know that. They also say toss salad.
yeah,
It's gross, but yeah, and this is the clip. So her husband, and my understanding is her husband had co-signed it, from what I've been hearing, but he didn't come with her to the premiere. What did you? Oh man, y'all going hard in the chat.
well, you have to go hard on this because it's disturbing. I mean, that is some disturbing stuff. I mean, that's something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something out of a porn movie, and no husband can. We want to see his wife in that type of way. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. But I look at this marriage, and that's probably what ended it. Was, I mean, seeing it, but up front, I mean, that just is disturbing to look at. I mean, guy popping his booty open for everybody to see, and then your wife is up there looking at this, and you as a pastor, this looks bad because here is your wife participating in an act that is considered a sin in the Bible, and there's no way optically you could stay married to this woman if she's out here like this. I mean, that whole scene right there, I mean, that goes completely against the Bible, and it goes against everything the Most High has said about sexual relations. I mean, it is just basically a deviant sexual act. And I guess he thought, oh, it wouldn't be too bad after reading about it on screen, but seeing it on screen is another thing. And I guess he couldn't look at his wife the same way after seeing that absolutely disturbing and disgusting scene.
Maybe he was mad because she did it for the movie, but not for him. I don't know.
Well, that's just an act of sexual deviancy, and if I had a wife and she did something like that, I would, and I just could not be with her. Just
what's new, Boochie Cat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's new?
That's some sodomite stuff right there.
That's gross. Yeah. Didn't Gabrielle Union? You remember she even talked about that on her show on the radio about eating that. Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing: what's interesting is that we talk about it. They get mad for us talking about it, but we wouldn't talk about it if you hadn't brought it up in the first damn place. You guys bring this up and make yourself the center of attention.
Yep.
I can't see a husband, like if my wife did a movie role, I get that in some movies they have these sex scenes where married actors and actresses, because it's not just the women, it's the men too. They have sex with women in the film and they may not be married in the script and so forth. So I can understand that. But this Harlem show, first off, it's not even a great show. It's not well written. Just looking at the first episode, the show that they have on Stars, Run the World, which is coming out the same year as this is coming out, and I think it's kind of a ripoff that they did it because it's set in the same settings. It's set in New York.
Yeah,
they're both set in New York, and one was done by the lady who made Living Single.
Yvette Lee Bowser.
Yvette Lee Bowser made Run the World, and that one is far better, although it's on the Stars network, and I have issues with the way Stars portrays black men. But I found it more tasteful than what this was. This was some straight bull crap. But yeah, I yeah, that show you said the show is feminist fan service and X-rated living single. Well, that's kind of what Run the World is R-rated. I mean, it's TVMA, but you haven't seen it, Shawn.
I don't want to see it.
There's no ass eating in it. Just so you know.
Oh, I just hit.
You don't like it. You don't like those shows with where it's centered around women. Is that?
No, I don't mind those kinds of shows. I watch Living Single. I've watched Sex in the City for a couple episodes before it became unbearable. I don't have a problem with it. I even watched Waiting to Exhale, but a lot of these shows, they're not really well written. The stories are not really well developed. The characters are one dimensional. So I'll watch a couple episodes and I'll be done.
Yeah. Well, I was done after the Bucci Cat came on. Yeah. What's in your stocking? Shit, she'll need about a lifetime supply of Brett mints after that. Damn. Just being in his face, just having it in your face. Ugh. Sickening. Okay, I'm done with the jokes. Let's move on to the next subject. We got Vice President Harris chastises Charlemagne the God. I don't know if we talked about this, Shawn, but did you see that where Charlemagne the God or Charlemagne the Fraud, as some people say it, got chewed out by Kamala Harris?
Oh, I saw that.
You did see it. Where she was obviously angered by him saying that, no, it's Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden. Let's play the clip. I've done it before. Copyright Fair Use Act of 1976, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get your opinion on it, Shawn. I'm going to play the video. This was regards to Joe Manchin, obviously, who is a senator that is obviously having an issue with Joe Biden and his policies. A senator out of West Virginia. Basically, they are saying he's holding stuff back from Biden getting stuff done. And Charlemagne asked a legit question: who is the president of the United States? Because you're all blaming the senator this, the senator that. But why isn't Joe Biden doing anything? So this is what happened.
President of this country, is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
I really,
It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell.
No. It's Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president. It's Joe Biden.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden. And I'm vice president. And my name is Kamala Harris. And the reality is, because we are in office, we do the things like the child tax credit, which is going to reduce Black child poverty by 50%, on track to do that. We do things that are about saying that our Department of Justice is going to do these investigations and require that we end chokeholds and have body cameras. It is the work of saying we're going to get lead out of pipes and paint because our babies are suffering because of that. It is the work of saying people who ride public transit deserve the same kind of dignity that anybody else does. So let's improve that system.
Okay, another truthfulness, ladies and gentlemen, what she was talking about. I like how when asked the question, she doesn't answer it. If you watch the whole video, I don't know if you ever went to the YouTube page, Shawn, you probably did, but this is where the likes and dislikes would have come up in place, because they show the likes but don't show the dislikes. But if you look in the comment section, it was completely negative for that whole interview. This was probably, I don't know if it was worse than the I Smoked Weed with Snoop and Tupac, listening to Snoop and Tupac, but it was on that level. But actually, I'm going to say it's worse because she talked to him like a kid. Now, Charlemagne, of course, he still went along with it. Like, yeah, that's the Kamala Harris that I want. That's the one I voted for. This is the same dude who went on T.I.'s podcast, said that Joe Biden was a bad choice for black people. He was actually worse than Donald Trump. He said this. But still, he wanted to lead black people to go down and vote for Joe Biden because, well, Donald Trump, I just can't stand and look at him. But Joe Biden, he's going to fuck us over, but at least he'll smile when doing it. Go ahead, Shawn. Give us your thoughts on.
Well, this is the first time your Kamala Harris actually had to deal with a critical question. And we see that your Kamala Harris doesn't have good critical thinking skills. Instead of her answering the question critically, she got emotional, she started deflecting, and she didn't really look very presidential at all. Now, when we look at this whole question, it was a valid question. Who is running the White House? Because the president, as the executive branch, is supposed to be the one setting a direction and a tone. And when your president who runs the executive branch cannot get legislation passed with a majority in the House and the Senate, then you have to ask the critical question is who is running the White House? Because he is the leader as the president. And as the president, you're supposed to be the one that gets people together as related to your agenda. Now, your Joe Manchin has, again, legitimate concerns about this agenda, and he has been voicing those concerns. And instead of Joe Biden going to have a conversation with him that's related to those concerns, he has not been an effective leader at all. No, instead of him going out here and rallying everybody behind his agenda, he has been very passive and sitting in the back. And when you are passive and sit in the back, people start to look at you as a weak leader. And that's why people start undermining your leadership and your authority because they don't respect you as a leader, like Joe Manchin does not respect Joe Biden. He sees a weak and ineffective leader, excuse me, and because he sees weakness and ineffectiveness, he is out here saying, no, I'm going to defy this guy because he has no direction, he has no tone, and his Build Back Better program is nothing more than Build Back Broke once you start to look at Congressional Budget Office numbers. Now, your Kamala Harris, again, shows the weakness and ineffectiveness of the Biden presidency because instead of her being an effective leader and saying that we need to rally together behind our leader, instead, she gets emotional and defensive. And when you see emotional and defensive people, that is a sign of clearly weak leadership because true to the game leaders, they can answer a question that's posed to them that is critical and they can easily answer that question because they have an answer for that question. But she didn't have an answer for that question because there is no leadership.
He didn't have an answer for any of his questions, actually.
Yeah, there's no leadership in the Biden administration, and we can see that from the chaos that's currently going on. There's no leadership, there's no direction, and the country is just basically in limbo as we speak because he just does things based on, as I see it, mostly emotion, and he does not respond in a manner that shows us, okay, where do you want to go with this whole country? What do you want? Where do you want to take this country in 4 years? I mean, that's a critical question that a leader would ask. But when we look at the Biden presidency, it was based on feelings, and that's always been the problem with the Biden presidency is feelings. And your Kamala Harris is somebody who, again, because females are emotional, all up in her feelings, and that's not a good sign for a country when you have leaders like this that they get upset at a guy asking a basic question that should have just been answered with Joe Biden is the president of the United States, and he is the one who sets the tone for the presidency. So that would be the answer, and that would be the end of it right there. But she got defensive because, again, this whole administration has no vision, no direction, and nobody's on the same page. And when you have an organization like that, you have nothing but chaos going on.
That's what's happening here. But let me read this. This is what Brother Judge Joe Brown said. The U.S. Senate State of Affairs, 50 Republicans versus 48 Democrats, plus 2 independents, plus Vice President Harris, would have the 48 plus 2 plus 1 game delivered to you and yours? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I see Judge was being trolled. This woman wrote, both sides represent the oligarchs and corporations, and neither has had any cause to do anything for blacks. The Demo Party always gets our vote no matter what, and the GOP never gets our vote no matter what. Neither has an incentive to deliver anything tangible. And this woman, is this a woman or man? I don't know, but he says, what parts of both American political parties only represent the oligarchs and corporations don't you understand? Judge quit. Maybe I understand the game, perhaps rather well. You know, I was a former judge. I was all up in this thing when I was at UCLA. I saw Bunchy Carter get whacked when they sprayed us with fire hoses and they sick dogs on us, and we did shit that I dare not say because the statute of limitations have not expired. Judge don't play, man. You trying to come at the judge. Judge has been around for a while, and he's knows politics. He's a former criminal judge, and you know he doesn't like Kamala Harris and Judge Joe Biden because he remembers the racial stuff that Joe Biden was promoting back in the 70s.
Yep.
You know, being friends and aligned with James Eastland and John Stennis, and eulogizing Strom Thurmond, working with Strom Thurmond on those crimes bills. But speaking of President Biden, no plan to relieve student loan debt. Now, I talked about this Tuesday, Shawn, that Biden had announced that in February, they were lifting the moratorium on student loan payments, meaning that people who had their student loans in forbearance because of COVID-19, they are now going to have to pay their student loan bills. Well, it was announced just recently, and I report and do this fairly, that they have made a decision in regards to that. Biden will extend what's called the student loan repayment. He's going to extend a pause on the student loan payments for another 90 days. The Democrats praised the move, and this is coming from Business Insider, but they urged the president to take further action and cancel the debt. Biden signaled that he wanted borrowers to repay their student loans. So on Wednesday, President Joe Biden extended a pause on student loan payments that was set to expire on February 1st. A decision by Democratic lawmakers who pressured him to make the move as the pandemic continues to disrupt American lives. But at the same time, Biden signaled that he wanted borrowers to resume paying off their loans once the new moratorium ends on May 1st, placing him at odds with Democrats who have demanded that the debt be wiped out. We know that millions of student loan borrowers are still coping with the impacts of the pandemic and need some more time before resuming payments. Given these considerations, today my administration is extending the pause on federal student loan repayments for an additional 90 days through May 1st, 2022, as we manage the ongoing pandemic further strengthen our economic recovery. He further says that the Department of Education will continue working with borrowers to ensure that they have the support they need to transition smoothly back into repayment and advance economic stability for their own households and for our nation. As we are taking this action, I'm asking all student loan borrowers to do their part as well. Take full advantage of the Department of Education resources to help you prepare for payments to resume. Look at options to lower your payments through income-based repayment plans. Explore public service loan forgiveness and make sure you're vaccinated and boosted when eligible. And this is causing a collision course with the, I guess you could say, progressive or the far left Democrats. For instance, AOC, your representative, Shawn,
Yeah.
I know you love her.
I can't stand her.
Thank you. Next step, cancellation. Bernie Sanders said, I applaud President Biden for once again pausing federal student loan payments for 45 million Americans. Now let's cancel it. All of it. Representative Corey Bush out of Missouri said, "This is what happens. We all come together to raise our voices. Extending the student loan payment pause is a huge step forward that will help people get through the pandemic. Now let's keep pushing until POTUS cancels student loan debt." Now Biden has said he will not cancel student loan debt because that is up to Congress. And even if you look at his history, and I talked about this past Tuesday, he has always been in favor of these banks and creditors with regards to those bills. With regards to student loan repayment plans, he voted in favor of it. Higher interest rates. And yes, Knight Rider, he broke his promise. He said he was going to cancel student loan debt. He's starting at $10,000. Where's that? John B. Stennis and James Eastland were some of his mentors as well. So, Shawn, what do you make of this?
Well, I make of it that Joe Biden sees his approval rating crashing due to his failures as related to the economy and seeing his failures with the pandemic. And he knows that he needs those younger voters to try to come back for 2022 and 2024. And he knows that he can no longer keep screwing people over because with this Biden presidency, we've seen him just basically throw middle fingers up at large voting blocks and just walk away from them, expressing contempt towards them. And a lot of those voting blocks are now thinking about voting Republican, and that's got a lot of these Democrats scared. So they're looking at the damage that Joe Biden has done over the past year, expressing his contempt for most American voters. And the student loan thing he thought was something nothing was something very important because we have a lot of young people across this country who are in high 5-figure and 6-figure debt. And many, of these people, they cannot find a full-time job that can cover all of those bills. And a lot of those people are impeded because of his jab mandates. So he's really dug a hole for himself. And now you have a lot of other Democrats now trying to say, you need to go get these kids out of this hole because if you don't, because you made this promise about student loan debt, and it was one that they can go out here and play the tape back on, along with his other promises that he has gone out here and not gone out here and fulfilled. And he feared there's a lot of fear in this Democratic Party as related to their chances in 2022 and 2024. And that's why they're backpedaling and U-turning because they know they have alienated a lot of Americans. And this is a desperate attempt to try to buy some time because what these young Americans wanted was that student loan debt canceled. And $10,000 is nothing when a lot of people have 50, 60, 70, even $80,000, $100,000 in debt. So what this is the desperate attempt to try to save the Biden presidency. And I believe it's too little too late because this guy has shown his backside to practically every voting bloc that went out here and voted for him and gave him those 80 million votes. And instead of giving 80 million tangibles to the American people, he has given the American people a middle finger. And a lot of those American people now are really thinking about not voting for any of these Democrat candidates. And that's what got all these Democrats terrified about November 2022.
It's interesting you said that because actually, yeah, and he hasn't, even if he's saying I can't do it because I only can sign an executive order, he could propose legislation to do it.
Well, the whole thing is that he had the House, he had the Senate, and the whole thing is they're so obsessed with January 6th and the January 6th committee that we're not getting any legislation passed for the American people. It's like you have this obsession with January 6th, and you have no focus on the needs of the American people. I mean, this student loan debt is crushing people and preventing them from starting their lives, and he's sitting there obsessed with January 6th.
Right. That's all they're talking about. But look at all the Democratic representatives and senators that are talking about this. Hey, don't let this fool Bauman, don't let anyone tell you that pressure doesn't work. We did this together, and together we'll get POTUS to cancel student loans. Did what together? You got an extension. He didn't cancel the debt.
He didn't cancel it.
What? Oh, you're going to get an extension. Well, guess what? As you get, it's just going to keep extending. It doesn't cancel it. It's just like when they tried to say Clinton was best for the economy. What Clinton did was that he didn't get the United States out of debt. You were still $1 trillion in debt. He just managed it better. You were still in debt. You were still billions of dollars in debt. And the only reason why the US dollar isn't put on a roll of toilet paper is because China holds an interest in it. We're indebted to China.
Yeah.
That's why all of these businesses, China right now is if not, it is the world's largest country, and world's largest nation, and that is actually pretty soon the number one language, or it is right now, the number one language and speaking language in the world is Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, and they are actually expanding in parts of Africa and other places in the world. That's why your businesses, they're being shipped, they're starting up and going to other places. They're going up to China now. We're not building stuff here.
Nope.
And the interest is still going to accrue. Yeah, that's true. So, I got student loan debt. As a lawyer, if you work, how they promise you can have your student loan forgiven? You have to work in a nonprofit for at least 10 years, or PD's office if they want it completely forgiven. So by the time I came out of law school, if I worked as a public defender or I worked for a nonprofit or charity for 10 years, and I was 28 when I came out of law school, I would be 38 by the time that was canceled. Do I have time to wait for that?
You're missing out on the best years of your career.
Right. If that's something you're interested in, yeah, people can do that. But I'm not saying, there's nothing wrong with being a PD. Absolutely not. I love it. I've done work with it, and that's not what I'm saying. But my point is that there are some people who won't do that or couldn't afford that. 10 years and it's not just PD work, it's working in a charity. If I can start off in private practice, or if I had and I've made millions of dollars from settling a case, I ain't got to worry about my student loans. I can pay it off right there. But it doesn't always work that way. That's not how life is, unfortunately. Money doesn't grow on trees is the old adage. I wish it did. So I don't have but one of our final topics, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you like this, Shawn. Let's go ahead and talk about this last topic. Kamau Bell has a hit piece coming to Showtime on Bill Cosby. And it's called We Got to Talk About Cosby. Now, Sister Nicole from Nicole's, you talked about it. I want to play the trailer on this.
I am a child of Bill Cosby. You know what I mean. I'm a black man, stand-up comic, born in the 70s. Bill Cosby had been one of my heroes. But this was fucked up. What do we do about everything we knew about Bill Cosby and what we know now? How do we talk about Bill Cosby?
Now, that's the documentary. They call it a documentary, but it's a hit piece. I know it's a hit piece because let me tell you why. First and foremost,
what do we do about everything?
Hold on, let me rewind it. Look where this debuted at.
Yep.
The Sundance Film Festival. Now, if you recall, ladies and gentlemen, there was a documentary, or really it was a hit piece that was debuted at the Sundance Film about almost 3 years ago to this day that this is being released. You know which one I'm talking about? It was this one. Hold on. I got to stop sharing it. But it was this. Leaving Neverland. Now that came on HBO back in March of 2019. But in January of 25th, 2019, it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. Now, there's something that has to be said about Sundance, because this festival, if I'm not mistaken, Shawn, you can correct me, but I'm pretty sure the people who founded this committee, at least one of the people that had something to do with it, was accused of sexual misconduct. If I'm not mistaken.
I believe that was the case.
That was the case. And I believe one of the founders of Sundance Film Festival, or the Sundance, I don't know if it was Robert Redford might be involved in it. I'm not too sure. I can't find from here. I don't want to say anything falsely.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, he did have something to do with it. Back in the 80s. Actually in the 70s. Yeah, Robert Redford.
He founded it, I believe.
His company founded it. Well, his company is tied to it because it was founded by Sterling Van Wagenen. And he was the head of Robert Redford's company, Wildwood. Okay, so it was him. Yes, it's him. Oh, I'm not making it up. Oh, I don't bring receipts, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing the damn checkbook. We bringing the bank statements. The bank statements got the transactions. Because people don't use checks these days. We use credit cards. He was convicted of sexual abuse and imprisonment. He's married to Marley Jepson. They had 6 children and 20 grandchildren, and he's sitting in jail right now for 6 years to life for aggravated sexual abuse of a child. Now, how ironic is it, and rather how hypocritical, that Sundance can show something on Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby, and they released this film. And their own founder was accused of doing the worst of the worst to a child. So there's something to be said about this Sundance Film Festival, Shawn. That's the first clue. But wait, before you respond, I want to point out something, a second little clue about this being a hit piece. Let's go back. I want y'all to look at this. Look carefully.
And everything we knew about Bill Cosby and what we know now. How do we
look at all who is in this? That's Lily Bernard right here. One of Cosby's accusers. She's suing him out in New Jersey. And I exposed her lie, what I believe to be a lie, I should say, just for legal purposes, a few months back when I showed you the lawsuit. And she said this happened in the 90s, in 1990. Shawn, you saw that. You were here when I did we went over the lawsuit.
Yeah, we went over the details of that case, so that never happened.
Well, she says it happened in 1990, but what we said was that if it happened in 1990, Miss Bernard, why is it that you made an appearance on the Cosby Show in 1991?
Yeah.
Or 1992. It was sometime after that. If
Why would
somebody
you go on a show with a man who did this to you and not go to the police?
You have Nelson George, and I remember Nelson George said some stuff during that R. Kelly docuseries that came out the same year, 2019, talking about brothers in the barbershop saying something which absolutely made no sense. Tariq Nasheed called him out. This other woman, she's another accuser. I believe her name was Joan Towers. I could be wrong. I don't want to get the wrong names, but I definitely know Lily Bernard. I don't know who this woman is here. I don't know who this person is. It's a man or a woman. I'm not sure. We know who Moise Lamont Schill is. And remember, he got exposed by Judge Joe Brown over the Bill Cosby thing.
Yeah.
Then you have, by the way, Shawn, you know that BNC is
Yeah, I heard about them laying off people.
laying off there.
Bootleg News Channel is on its way out because New Black Media shut it down because we're not supporting it.
We're not supporting you attacking our elders, our heroes anymore. We're not supporting your coonery.
They can't pick their hand-picked Negroes and put them up on screen and make us follow them anymore.
Then we got Black Yoda here. Now, I don't know who this gentleman is at the bottom either. Now, this is Jamel Hill. Now, she's a sportscaster, remember?
Yep.
What does she have to say about this? She's involved in sports. What knowledge does she have on Cosby? And then finally, you got Godfrey in the right-hand corner. I'm trying to give Brother Godfrey the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying, but I have seen his interview with TD Hip Hop. I know he has been on Vlad and talked about Cosby, talking about how he saw him around women. And what's interesting is Godfrey got his start actually opening up for Bill Cosby on his show. He was the comedian, typically on these TV shows, they'll have a comedian that will warm up the crowd. Godfrey was one of those people. So he knew Bill Cosby, but he even said, I remember an interview he did with Hip Hop News, that Cosby, he knew someone that Cosby had done that to, or something like that. Now, my only problem, again, and it's the same thing with the Michael Jackson situation, if anybody knew anything like this had happened to someone or someone you do not wait 10, 20, 30, 40 years to bring that person to justice. I don't care who he is. I don't care how much money he had. If you saw children being assaulted like you claimed in the Michael Jackson movie, Leaving Neverland, you didn't do nothing about it. You didn't do nothing about it when Aaliyah married R. Kelly. You helped set up the marriage certificate, knowing she was underage. Y'all set all of this up. You saw women around Bill Cosby. Okay, Frank Sinatra didn't have women around him, Shawn?
He had quite a few.
Did Dean Martin have women around him? Did Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole, John F. Kennedy? What about Bill Clinton? I can go on. How does that prove rape or sexual assault? Brother, I don't know what Godfrey is going to say. And I like Godfrey. But if any indication of these individuals, just looking at this on the screen tells you where it's going to go. If any indication about this, it's not going to be good, obviously. If Godfrey, I know Godfrey's in it, but if I see Mark Lamont Hill, I see Jamel Hill, I already see Lily Bernard, I don't see Andrew Wyatt, I don't see Tom Mesereau, I don't see Scott Ross, I don't see balance when I look at this. This
don't see objectivity.
And this W. Kamau Bell, I never liked this Negro. When he had a show on FX, got canceled very quickly, even when Chris Rock supported it. Chris Rock was the executive producer of that show. Remember, he had that show, but Kamau Bell, yeah, he's a cheap ass Questlove. These white liberal, these black liberals, they're white liberals in blackface. And Malcolm X, what did Malcolm say about a liberal? They're worse than even the racist, the conservative racist. No Monique Presley, right? No balance. None. Someone, Darius said, Mark Lemoyne looked like he's, but no balance. Shawn, I'm gonna let you take the floor on this one. I think I've spoken enough. But
well, I look at this and it definitely looks like a hit piece because you've got an assortment of bootlicks ready to go out here and demonize Bill Cosby and push the narrative of their white leftist slave masters. Now, I have to ask a question about this title of this so-called documentary. Why don't we have a documentary on your Harvey Weinstein? And why don't we have some documentaries about some other white men who have been caught up in sexual harassment scandals? Where is the we need to talk about Andrew Cuomo? I mean, we always come back to Bill Cosby and the
documentary on that Van Weergen guy that got is serving time. The guy who founded Sundance.
Yeah. Why don't we have documentaries on these white men? Why is it that we keep constantly going back to Bill Cosby? And again, they want to do these hit pieces because they want to destroy the legacy of Bill Cosby. They see that they could not destroy his legacy in court with that false sexual assault claim. And even 3 years in prison, Bill Cosby's legacy still has endured in spite of all this. And it has endured because your Bill Cosby was a great man of character and resolve. Yes, you can talk about that he may have had some marital infidelities, but all the efforts to try to demonize him have completely failed. And this is the latest salvo from your white leftist supremacists in Hollywood to demonize Bill Cosby. So what's being done here is another attempt to try to further destroy the legacy of Bill Cosby using the usual suspects of black bootlicks. And this is no different than what happened with the attempt to go after Michael Jackson 10 years after his death. Now, in Michael Jackson's case, they were actually able to prove that that so-called documentary was nothing but slander. And I believe that's what Mr. Cosby needs to do is take some legal action. Because again, why do we need to keep talking about Bill Cosby when his case proved that there was no crime that was committed and the entire conviction was overturned based on the evidence that was presented? I mean, if the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned this conviction, we don't need to talk about Bill Cosby anymore. And why don't we talk about your Jeffrey Epstein? Why don't we talk about your Harvey Weinstein? Why don't we talk about your Andrew Cuomo? Why don't we talk about many of these white men? Why don't we talk about them? Because these are white men in positions of power. And it seems like when they participate in inappropriate behavior, nobody's coming out here making a documentary about some white man. No, they just keep going back to Bill Cosby. And that just shows us how we have no friends on the left. And sadly, many of these bootlicks, they will sell their souls to get some crumbs from their white leftist slave masters' table. And they'll go out here and try to get these crumbs at the expense of a man who you wouldn't have a job if he had not made any sacrifices and went out here and kicked down those doors for you. So when I look at these bootlicks, again, extremely ungrateful for all of the work Mr. Cosby has done to lay a foundation for where you want to be. And this really shows me how sad Black Hollywood is, because your Black Hollywood, if this is the kind of people who are a part of it, then this is not a place I would want anything to do with, because these kind of traitors, they would stab anybody in the back. Because to make this type of hit piece and call it a documentary, because this is not a documentary, because a documentary is supposed to present both sides of the argument and let you decide. But this is just a propaganda piece to demonize Mr. Cosby, and another desperate attempt by white leftists and white supremacists to try to tarnish his legacy a legacy that stands strong in the face of everything that's been thrown at it.
His legacy is intact. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care how many women come forward and talk about something that happened in 1964, 65 that y'all were all interested in doing in the first place. This is a man that gave over $100 million to historically black colleges and universities. He co-founded the Black Studies Association. He helped a bunch of brothers and sisters get an education, even if he did not give monies to those HBCUs. When he put on a sweater that said Dillard University, Grambling University, Xavier University, wore sweatpants that had Howard University, that was a message that was sent to mainstream America, but also to Black Americans, younger Black Americans, that you can go to these colleges and be successful. You can be somebody. You don't have to rely on athletics. You didn't have to rely on basketball. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be the president. You can run a company. You can run a business. That's the message that Bill Cosby sent. And some coochie from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, with no evidence. That's the thing. As a lawyer, I'm looking at evidence. Everything I heard is he said, she said. And they've changed their stories. Most of them have been caught either lying or they've changed their stories. They're outside the statute of limitations. If it's outside the statute of limitations, there's nothing law enforcement can do. This conviction that he had, if Kamau Bell or Moise Lamont Hill or Jamel Yoda Hill, any of these hills, Sugar Hill, Top Hill, whatever they call themselves, downhill, because that's the way it is. That's what's happening at that Black news channel. If you did any type of research as a journalist, you would know that this man got railroaded. That's why I wrote this book. That's why I have this book coming out, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've been pushing it, and I've, the date and timeline has been changing, but that happens. You still go to a movie theater and watch, they've been pushing back Tom Cruise's movie Top Gun and Mission Impossible and John Wick. John Wick got kicked back another year to 2023 because of Top Gun. Y'all will still go support that and see that. People will still go see that. There's a reason why I titled this, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., the destruction of due process in the United States. Because it was the destruction of due process in the United States. This man got railroaded. And we cannot live in a country where the rights of the accused are placed above all. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have court. That's why there's a 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendment that applies to criminal procedure. Because under that 14th Amendment, it guarantees equal protection under the law. It guarantees due process when you are arrested by the state. And the states cannot hold you in any situation where they take your life, liberty, or property without due process. And they tried to they violated that. They didn't try, excuse me. They did do that. That asshole of a district attorney, Kevin Steele, he knew he should not have brought this case. He had to have known. Because he was a district attorney, assistant district attorney, when all of this stuff was going on. He ran a campaign on get me in office and I'm going to put Bill Cosby in jail. And y'all are okay with that? Think of your sons that go into that courtroom with that bastard judge who allowed this bullshit to go on. You think that would make me think my kid is not going to get a fair shake. Wait a minute. You let this woman make outbursts in front of the jury, calling this man a rapist when he's not on trial for rape? You allow all of these women to testify? You didn't even acknowledge the agreement that the prosecutor had originally. Would you think you could get a fair shot in that courtroom if he allowed this type of bullshit? In the chat, you think you could get a fair trial? You think you get a fair hearing in Stephen O'Neill's courtroom? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. Who thinks they could get a? Who thinks they're gonna get a fair shake in that courtroom in that county with that DA? Come on, let me see. I got one person said hell no. Maximus Royalty said hell no. Knight Rider said he abused his authority and misused his office. Absolutely. No way you're gonna get a fair shake in that courtroom, Shawn.
Nope, because it's all fixed. It's rigged.
This was a disgrace. In my 7 years of practicing law in criminal defense that criminal cases that I've had, I've never saw, I had Tom Mesereau on my channel. And Tom Mesereau, a man who represented both Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby. Out of all the cases he tried, did you know that he said, and you were here, Shawn, he said that I've never been a part of a case that was that biased. And I've tried cases in the South, capital murder cases. Capital murder cases in Mississippi, Alabama, where Just Mercy was shot from. He tried cases like that once a year. I know Tom personally. He said, I've never had anything like this. But because, Bill Cosby, he was critical of hip hop. Bill Cosby, he criticized Def Comedy Jam. So what? Some of it was niggerish and buffoonery. Let's be real. Some of it was, I love Def Comedy Jam, don't get me wrong. But some of it was, some of those comedians that are on there, you've never heard of them since. Have you? Shawn?
Yeah.
Have you heard of some of them since?
No.
There only were a handful in truthfulness, and it's not saying that they weren't funny, because some of it were, but in truthfulness, you think that some of those people would get mainstream shows on NBC, CBS, and Fox?
Nope.
Saying MF this, MF this, I think this, I think that. I hit it from the back. And he saw how some of it was, I'm not going to say all of it was promoting negative stereotypes. You know why? Because when he was on I Spy, he saw what white writers thought of black people when they wanted to put white stuntmen in blackface. And he said, absolutely not. And he co-founded that Black Stuntmen's Association. Only a handful of comedians I know on Def Comedy Jam that are, if you want to use the term mainstream, the ones that actually broke out and stole the show for me was Chris Tucker, Eddie Griffin, Bernie Mac, and I guess if you want to say the kings of comedy, although they're not the kings of comedy like Steve Harvey and them, okay, I could go along with that. I mean, I know Martin Lawrence was Martin Lawrence, but Martin was, he was actually getting big before Def Comedy Jam had aired. And let's be real, Bill Cosby was not the only critic of Def Jam. Bill Cosby wasn't even the only critic of Eddie Murphy. Rodney Dangerfield criticized Eddie Murphy. Lucille Ball criticized Eddie. Shawn, did you know that? She said he was filthy.
I know.
And you got to realize Lucy came from a different era. You didn't say motherfucker, eat pussy, or all this on stage.
You didn't say that kind of stuff. That's why people criticize Eddie. I mean, the last guy who did it was Lenny Bruce, but then he even got called out.
Red Fox used to do blue humor, but And Red Fox put out more comedy albums than any other comedian. He had like 45 albums. That's a lot of
Yeah.
records. Unfortunately, he died broke. Part of it was his misgivings about other people. Another part of it, he was too giving of a person. And otherwise, he wasn't. And other parts, too, he was a bad businessman. That happened even with Sammy Davis Jr. Oh, that's good, Rosalind, if you're there. I didn't see Rosalind, but sister, get well. Sister, get well. It's good to see you, Black Mama. I know we've been on for 2 hours, Shawn, so I'm gonna wrap it up in
All
a
right.
second. But if you got a final thought, I'll let you on that topic. I'll let you go ahead.
Well, people want to go after, Bill Cosby, but I think that we can see that these are clearly hit pieces meant to try to demonize his legacy. And it just shows how they're just desperate at this point because they've thrown everything at this man and nothing has stuck. And they're just at this point where they realize that they're just going to lose. And again, white supremacy hates losing, whether it be on the left and the right. But the way we overcome this is we have to do like Bill Cosby and continue to preserve his legacy by creating our own media and our own media platforms. Because when we create our own, they don't control our narratives or our stories. We tell our stories and we give people the truth.
Most definitely. And let me say this too. Bernie Mac, I thought was the best one that was on Def Jam. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you ever watched Def Jam.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did. I never watched because I never had cable.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it because I have never gotten to the point where I made enough money to get cable. I wish I could get to the point.
Have you
where,
seen did you see some of the sets online, like on YouTube later? Or
No, I have not seen any of that stuff. I've been so busy with trying to get myself together, and so.
Well, the reason why I brought so let me and to clarify, I'm not attacking people that were on there, but my opinion of it, and this was my opinion. It wasn't, those guys. Let's be real. Bill Cosby is worth $500 million. He got that by performing in, in clubs and on stadiums for a reason. Now, some people say he wasn't that funny and that great. I wasn't, and I'll be all honest, I didn't follow Bill Cosby's career as a stand-up comedian. I think the best one he did for me was the Bill Cosby himself. That was his best stand-up special. That's that's really the only one I've seen. But the man's been around for 50 plus years for a reason. He got TV shows for a reason. The network executives obviously saw something in him. There's a reason why his show was #1 for 5 straight years, tying All in the Family's record. Something that had never been done before by a black man. His show being worth $1 billion in syndication. Bill Cosby, he was actually made more. He actually made more money. And people say he's jealous of Eddie. He made more money in 1988 than Eddie Murphy and Michael Jackson combined. He was the highest paid celebrity in the 80s in 1988.
He has no reason to be jealous of them. He was just trying to give them advice and guide them.
He was giving right. And maybe he came off and look, I never spoke with Bill Cosby any more than I spoke with Eddie Murphy. I don't know what he said, and maybe he said it in an ugly way. That could happen. But it's like what Faison Love said. You got a kung fu master, 2 different kung fu masters. One has a different art he practices than the other. That doesn't make them any insignificant. I don't think Bill Cosby is insignificant to Richard Pryor. I think rather it's they're both equal, but in truthfulness, Bill Cosby actually had even more impact than Richard Pryor because had it not been for him, none of those comedians that followed in that time would be possible. Richard Pryor started out originally doing Bill Cosby's humor. Don Rickles even pointed it out. He said, "You sound so much like Bill Cosby." and Richard had to find his own voice. But Bill Cosby made it possible that to show a black man on prime television, primetime TV, that wasn't sticking his eyes out, talking gibberish and speaking jive. When he was on I Spy, he wore suits, he wore ties, he was dressed elegant, he had his shit together. It's just like that Roosevelt Franklin character on Sesame Street, Sean.
Yeah.
He was a well-dressed black dude. And there was actually a movement to get that black dude kicked off Sesame Street because he wasn't shucking and jiving.
Yeah, because they like the clowns, but they don't like intelligent black men.
Right.
I mean, anything that shows you intelligent black man, they have a real problem with because they fear the competition from intelligent black men. And they also fear that kids will get inspired by that kind of image. So that's another issue that they have is seeing an intelligent black man on screen. So that's why they try to get him off of media because they don't want him to be inspiring others to create that as a standard.
Most definitely. Well, I got just one last thing to ask you and ask anybody in the chat. What are your plans, Sean, for Christmas? Tomorrow, of course, is Christmas Eve. And I know there's some people in the chat who don't celebrate Christmas, but for all the people that do celebrate Christmas, like let's talk about it. What are your plans for tomorrow?
Well, I planned a nice, quiet Christmas at home with my family.
And that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Any cooking being done? Turkey?
I am making sweet potato pies, and I will be making the Christmas chicken.
Chicken?
Yeah. We
All
used
right.
to eat capons, but you can't find a capon here in New York anymore.
A what?
Capon chicken. It's basically a rooster, but the whole thing is it's a delicacy, but we can't find that bird anymore here in New York.
My plans for Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm sorry about the coupon chicken.
Capon.
That's what I said. K-poupon.
Yeah.
Rick Poupon. I'm just messing. No, capon chicken. I will be here home with my family, my girlfriend. We will be opening our presents. I guess Christmas Day. Actually, Christmas Eve I go to mass. I lecture. I'll be doing that, and we'll be cooking. Obviously, I will be making the turkey, smoked turkey or fried turkey, but greaseless fried turkey. I like to have. Y'all should try those. Those are good. If you smoke a chicken, if you put stuff in a smoker, it doesn't cook as long as putting something in the oven. It's pretty good. Been injecting it and playing my music, playing some Christmas music. I might have a video. I must try to drop something tonight in time for the holiday if I can. Some stuff. I certainly want to put out some more video content than just going live. But ladies and gentlemen, if I do a show Sunday, which I likely will, it will probably be in the afternoon time. It won't be too late. But I want you all right now, before we promote my stuff, I want to promote my brother because I want him to get as many book sales as he can for Christmas. It will make great. Do your last minute Christmas shopping with SJS Publishing and buy Stop Simping in Cyberspace by Shawn James, who is here, ladies and gentlemen. Computer Robots wants to see us on Christmas. Do a cooking show on YouTube and Facebook if you're not busy. Well, you know what? I don't know about doing a live stream of it, but I might do a video like Julia. Who was the cooking lady? Julia. What's her name? Julia somebody. That British lady. First you take the turkey and you cut it slowly. Like so. Bill Cosby did that impression too on the Cosby Show when they wanted Theo to cut the turkey or something like that. Julia Childs, that's it, Black Mama. First you take the turkey, you cut the turkey slow. You want to do a live stream of cooking, Sean?
I'm not going to be. I don't do live streams during the holidays. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know if I do. Now, yeah, you will be now during the holidays. Sean will not do a live. Sean doesn't do live stream during the holidays, but if he did, it would probably sound like this. Now, your sweet potato pie is supposed to be good, and when I take a critical examination of these ingredients of your sweet potato pie, I find myself more intrigued to work on it. Now, your eggs must be mixed to a boiling black. I'm sorry. You just sitting there chill like I'm not amused. Gets me. Sean is not amused. Everybody's laughing. Will the Duchess of Ratchetness be at the Christmas dinner, Sean?
Definitely not.
What if the Queen of England coming over to their house for Christmas? What is this? What is this sweet potato pie? Well, we know she wouldn't come there.
Nope, she wouldn't come to the Bronx.
No. Now, your turkeys that are being served on your Christmas dinner, as well as that compound chicken that we cannot find, there are obviously had to be beta males for being killed by a turkey killer. Now, they had their necks cut off. I'm sorry, Sean. Buy Stop Simping in Cyberspace. You know what, Sean? I'm gonna buy your book tonight.
All right.
It's gonna make my gift to you. Merry Christmas, friend. I appreciate you. When next week maybe we could do like a round out of the top 10 topics of 2021 or the top. Yeah, I think that would be great. Y'all would like to see that? Yeah. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you have yet, but please pick up that Nani's Creole Blends, Nani's Creole Seasoning Blends. This is our website, ladies and gentlemen, Nani'sCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nani's goes great with every dish. And I know a couple of people, like Darius from Atlanta, have actually gotten their Creole Blends. Butterfly said Princess Diana would go to the Bronx. Yeah, she would. Shit, Diana would go to Compton. I think there was a good chance she would have, Sean.
She would. She probably would have. Probably would have shown up, but the rest of them, I doubt it.
Computer Robots had a question for you and for us. What do you predict going to look for 2022 for the man crisis and the woman crisis with all the beta males? And crazy.
It's going to get a lot worse because we got beta males going amok, and with Kyle Rittenhouse being made to a rock star, we're going to see more of these guys feeling emboldened. So the man crisis is not even near the peak of it yet because we've got, again, 2 to 3 generations of these guys out here, and they haven't just started. And it's getting worse because of this complete breakdown of the family. So the man crisis is getting worse. The woman crisis is also getting worse. So tighten your chin strap, as David Carroll would say, and keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, most definitely. Buy you a weapon, please. Buy a gun. If you have no felonies and convictions, buy your firearm. Go to the gun range and shoot. Get your concealed carry permit. Join some of these gun association clubs like Black Gun Owners Association, which is I'm a member and president here, the New Orleans chapter. Go to NAGA. I know how that sounds, but that's actually a group, NAGA, NAAGA. Go to those groups and look into it. So, Nani'sCreoleBlends.com. That is our website. Also, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you want to advertise, you hit me up with the email, gavin@gmail.com. Join the Patreon for exclusive content, ladies and gentlemen. I have some other stuff in the works too. I have a new podcast coming forward. I won't say too much, but we look into certain events and crimes that have taken place. So it's going to make for great programming. Ladies and gentlemen, also go to videos Spotify, and you can go to Apple and iTunes and download videos. So purchase that at the Apple Store if you'd like, please, as the latest single. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, since we have gotten on down, it is now time to get on up, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and to all a good night. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you for having me on.
And this has been Gavin Richaud, Random Topic Thursdays. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll holla. Peace. Love y'all. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we're moving.
All right, I don't know what happened to my music. They screwing me up. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. There is apparently a technical difficulty with me playing my music on Spotify. So with that, I don't know what happened. They must be coming at me on that way too. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, you all please go ahead, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I'll see you all in the next one. Merry Christmas to you all. Good night.